Welcome everybody to another Productivity Like a Pro podcast episode today with my dear friend and co-founder Paco Cantero and with our dear members inside the chat.
Paperless Movement, your productivity, your way.
Where we also actually will answer a question from one of our members, Volker. Thank you for being with us in the chat as well. And I think we both think that's a very interesting question, which we cannot repeat enough to talk about this. It's about project management and task management. And Volker was asking in summary, he starts using AI-generated summaries out of his meetings. Let's keep this in mind, out from the phone calls actually that he does. And then the general question is, since I'm now using AI-generated summaries from my phone calls, I need those tasks to store them. Having separate items as notes are not a solution because they then lack context. So there is maybe a task, supervise the sale of an apartment. This will easily take half a year with every now and then, maybe a phone call to follow up on things. Not really a lot of to-dos. How would you create this task in ClickUp and Sunsama? I want to keep the task assigned to me, but it really would need to appear in my weekly planning in terms of reminding me that this thing still exists. Also, it should be easy to find to add set phone notes in the comment section of the task. To me, it's crystal clear how I would approach this, and I'm sure for Paco too. Everything is based on what we teach in the ICO methodology. Task management and project management like a pro courses teach you this. However, as usual, it's all about subtleties. That's where we usually have our inner circle program, having the deep dive coaching sessions where we talk about exactly these subtleties. Because when it comes to applying these tool agnostic approaches to your personal work, your specific setups that you have there, like for example, having phone calls, something that we don't talk about inside the courses in particular. This is where the direct coaching helps. But here we will answer this now in this episode. And thinking about this, there are three things that pop to mind. AI-generated summaries out of phone calls. Supervise a sale of an apartment as a task that can take half a year. How do you follow up this task with some phone calls and keep track of it? And well, how would you do this in ClickUp and Sunsama in order to be reminded of this the moment it is necessary? To me, it's obvious. I will say what I will do, and then let's see what Paco has to add there. AI-generated summaries from my phone calls. This is something that we have automated that they show up in ClickUp. All the summaries are added automatically to ClickUp. However, this is useless if you need to rely on these summaries, really, okay? So the moment I have a phone call and I get the summary, if you really want to keep track, add it to the comment section of this task that you mentioned. And the question is now, if something takes half a year, this is no longer a task, as you have already saying, follow-up calls. So this is already a task in itself to have these calls, to add a new summary there. So there might be a main task and you have subtasks there. So the main task converts into a non-actionable item, just as a container holding your action items and having a place, your single source of truth related for all this relevant content. So that makes it very easy. You have this task, you have a phone call related to this task, you know where to where to find the information if you edit everything to this one task. So no matter if this is in 3 years from now, if you open up this task, everything should be available immediately inside the task without looking into other areas. If you link out to other sources, that's where you place the links into the task. So this also allows you then, if you want to get reminded that you have to make a follow-up call in 3 weeks from now, create a subtask at the due date to Mondays if you follow the weekly planning as we do and the weekly agenda meetings. There you can create a subtask and then put it on Monday in 3 weeks from now. So it will appear in the week where it's relevant for you, if you already know when it should appear for you. And this is something that's not appearing in Sunsama in my case yet until you come into this week where you plan your week, and then you can add this to Sunsama. I will let Paco also say something now. What do you think? Am I on the right track here?
Well, the point is that
Just
everybody's
say yes.
in the right path if it works. That's a beautiful thing about ICO, that it's so flexible that you can adapt. Because here, depending on how you think, how you are organized, how your project management work, how you organize your weekly planning and everything, it's how you can handle this. Because I can see many different ways to organize this and make it work without any problem and without any friction. One, for instance, is what Tom has just said. But for me, it depends on how often this type of tasks appear. Because, for instance, for me, if it's just a follow-up or whatever, for me, those are speedies. Okay, the point is that maybe you can create, for instance, if it's a speedy, because I just want to get reminded, because if you want to get reminded from time to time, you can just set the due date that for us is the date that you will work into that task whenever you consider. Okay, so the moment that the task pops up, you change the date to the future one you want to be reminded, and then you keep running that task endlessly. Okay, it doesn't matter if the project takes, or that type of task takes a whole year, no matter that you just have 3 follow-ups in the year, because they will emerge naturally. And as Tom has just said, it will pop up in that week that you're interested in, and that's it. But going back to a different approach, just to give you alternatives, and then you can decide which one to bet on or not bet in any of them at all. But for me, if you have a lot of this type of follow-up calls, for me, I will create inside the Speedies. It's something that I use a lot, that it's batching inside the Speedies. Okay, what I do using Todoist, I create a label. It's called calls, or call in singular, because that way I can filter. So the moment that I go to a Speedies, I say, well, this what are all the calls that I want to do right now that are follow-ups, quick phone calls or whatever. I filter by that label, that tag, okay? And then I say label because it's how they call them in Todoist, okay? But it's a tag, so that you can create that filter of things for today and things related to calls. That way you can do that. Something that I think about, it's also, you can include at any moment all that into a task in Sunsama, okay? That is planned, and then you create different subtasks inside Sunsama in case you want to do it, I don't know, every 3 months, because the point is that you need to analyze, because for here, the important thing is it something that belongs to my project management, for instance, or these are things that are personal, because that creates a differentiation, okay? If it's something that you want to have in your project management, or I think that you are using ClickUp also for your personal stuff, then obviously you need to create it there. And there is where you create all the context, okay? All these comments coming from all these tasks and all the story, because the reminder, it's something that you can take advantage of Speedies, for instance, because the Speedy is just going to that task and check everything that needs to be checked and already executed. I don't know if we are helping you with that, Volker, because it depends a lot of the number of instances that you have of that type, because this is just one thing and you just do one thing. The approach that Tom has just said works properly. But the thing is, if you have many similar things, you always need to think about batching all of them, because they are quite similar. And for instance, calls, it's something that I batch, okay? Because it's something that is not inside my routines, because I don't have so many so that every day I'm doing calls. I try to avoid that because I don't want to communicate with people using phone calls. But if that's your case, I think that, okay, he's saying that it helps a lot. Okay, great.
So Volker says that helps a lot. I get the differences and already have an idea of what is right for me. Thank you. And I just want to also add, for those who are new to ICO methodology, Speedies means they are tasks that take less than 15 minutes. And if they're more than 15 minutes, that's what we call proper tasks. And what Paco described here is differentiating the different tools then to use Speedies in. And I just want to add what Paco shared there, what you also need to consider then. If you use Sunsama to make the task in there and subtasks, think about what are really your core apps. If you are in danger that you switch any of the tools later on, maybe Sunsama through Akiflow, or you stop using a planner or for whatever reason. And I would then try, and that's what Paco said as well, is it recurring or not? To also then think about, is it actually a work stream, right? Something that you can define in more detail and have the business processes laid out, therefore understanding all the steps until you end the task, supervise the sale of an apartment. And we know that you're working in an area where you're helping people to supervise selling the apartment. So this could be something that you do on a regular basis. Therefore, it's not a single project. It's also not a single task. It's a work stream that you can do recurring. Therefore, you know, know there are a certain amount of phone calls that could also in advance already everything be laid out in this one task. And then it's up to you if it is in ClickUp, which you're using for everybody to see. So if you have an assistant, they see then the summaries and all this. So in my opinion, this is the single source of truth where things are placed, because the moment you create it in Sunsama, you have disconnected information in two different places. Also, if you even go to a third app, what Paco says, to make it for the Speedies, then it might be also interesting to have it still in ClickUp as the main task and just have it in your task manager, then to have the short Speedies there. I also know that many are using now ClickUp also to manage their Speedies because it's more than enough. It always depends, like Paco said, the complexity and the amount of times that you have to do this. Volker says, yes, that with the assistant, I will go for the non-actionable item, no verb and a special icon, exactly. And then you can use the subtask below this and add all your action items.
Because it's important to always reduce the noise. And this type of tasks, follow-up and all these crazy things are what creates the noise. That's why you need to be aware that yes, creating a project, for instance, as soon as they appear, no, take advantage of these tasks because it helps a lot. Because maybe that big quote, task can be inside a work stream, for instance, that it's, I don't know, sales process or whatever, sales workflow or whatever. That way you have there the container, because that's how we use the output elements. They are just containers, so that the moment that you look at them, you don't see noise at all. You always receive signal. And that's for me the most important thing. That's why maybe those follow-up things are the Speedies. That is just, man, need to follow up this. Maybe that's a reminder inside any of the project management or task management tools that we use, because they allow you to create a reminder. That's an alert of, well, take care of this. And then you can forget. But anyway, I try not to use reminders, because I think that due date, the day that you want to work into that task, that maybe it's just looking at it, and see if it's worth it to do something, or just, again, push it to the future and you forget about it, because that's something that it takes nothing. It creates no problem, no friction, no noise. And for me, it's very important. That's why we insist constantly on batching the things, creating containers, using the task or even the work stream, the project, putting things inside the routines, for instance, putting things inside your quarterly reviews, because maybe that's the moment, during your quarterly review, for instance, you can check out everything and say, well, I will schedule these follow-ups in this date, and you forget about it. But it's not noise. It's just that things emerge the moment that you really need them. That's why it's so important when we are in our crazy today, to think about our future self and do things properly, because the better you do them, the better you will work in the future, and you will appreciate a lot that guy who took care of that task, that reminder, that follow-up, whatever, because that creates something. And it's just a little effort of thinking at that moment, and then you got that sensation of release, because you know that the system will take care of itself, and also about yourself. That's a crucial thing about the productivity system, that it's just the system takes care of itself because you have perfectly set everything up correctly.
Yeah, and there you brought up the output elements. Again, for the people who are not aware of the ICOR methodology, the output elements is in the output part of ICOR. And that's where we define what the common words actually mean.
Brian is asking that the noise of Speedies not being managed correctly, it's where he's struggling. And I totally understand. In my case, I'm talking about hundreds of Speedies every week. For me, I took many decisions that really worked. One was looking for a tool that allows me to capture them quickly, as fast as possible. For me, to do it is something that works amazing for me, because you can use keyboard shortcut without any problem at any moment. And also, no matter the device, because that's something crucial also, you need to choose a tool that works perfectly on mobile and on desktop, so that your workflow never gets interrupted, your flow, in this case, And for me, that allows everything. And creating a space inside any of your routines, in my case, it's inside my morning routine and my afternoon routine. Well, I check during the morning routine, I plan the Speedies, and because if at Speedies is something urgent, well, I will take care of it immediately, okay? But if not, that's what's usually happening for us. The thing about the Speedies is you just need to capture them so that you don't suffer that you're going to miss them, okay? You will never forget them. That's why the quick capture is so important and so crucial. The moment that because it's not just writing it down, but being able to plan it immediately. The moment that you plan your Speedie and combine it with the capturing process, that's a no-brainer and life-changing moment because it's already done everything. You just need to execute and complete that Speedie, and that's something that the routine will take care of, okay? For me, the morning routine, I used to plan all the Speedies I want to tackle today, and during the afternoon, I start executing and completing all those Speedies. And with that, you capture quickly at the same moment you are planning it in your routine. Take care of the execution, that it's planning, that it's just deciding, because for me, it's so clarifying the moment that I see during the morning all the Speedies that I set for today. I delay the ones that I don't care at all for today, okay? I delay them to whatever day I consider. And that's important because at that moment, I'm already planning and I get rid of them. And then in the afternoon, I just start executing them, and you can execute 10, 15 Speedies without any problem. I'm doing that on a daily basis. It's amazing. So that's my recommendation, talking about the Speedies.
And now I quickly go back to the definition of the output elements, right? So the output elements are part of the ICO methodology in the output part. That's what we're talking about today. It's in the task management and project management area. And the output elements, there we differentiate really between actionable and non-actionable items. That's something that people are not really aware of. Something that we talked about in this podcast right now is like, okay, you have a task. What happens if you do subtasks? So per definition, with the output elements, as soon you add subtasks to a task, the task itself just becomes a container of the action items. That's very important. So all the other elements like projects and goals, these are non-actionable, and projects are the containers then for tasks, okay? And then we have also the work streams and operations inside the output elements, and work streams are on the level of projects. So these are just recurring projects. So our projects, by our definition, has a start and an end date. So you do this once, and usually it's something that you're not recurring. So you're not doing again. Otherwise, if you do, it becomes a work stream that you do over and over. So for example, creating YouTube videos for us is a work stream, creating articles for the blog post, creating these podcast episodes. Yeah, these are all work streams that allows you then, by this recurring mindset, that you lay out the process. It's worth thinking about the process steps and then optimizing the process steps. That's the power of the work streams. And then we have the other part, which is the operations. And operations is just a container where you can randomly, well, more or less randomly, place tasks in there. So we usually differentiate inside operations between the different departments to make it easy to assign these tasks to different people. So in ClickUp, this would we have a folder called operations, and then there are several lists like membership updates, website updates, design requests for random assets that you need that are not related to any project that we are working on right now. And therefore you have a place where you have single tasks that appear out of unexpected events or something that you need to do just once, but it's not worth creating a project. You would place them in the operations part. And by differentiating between these and the focus that you know what is really the item that drives you towards action, and then giving you the additional differentiator that you have things that are very quickly done, the shallow work, the speedies, and the deep work, the actual tasks that you work on, that gives you the clarity. So Paco talked already about the noise, and this is exactly what I 100% agree, obviously, with Paco there on the importance is that you know how to capture it, the way that you have an option to very quickly capture it, but not just for the sake of capturing it, but also then knowing how to process it later. So first you can just capture it and having it in an inbox, not even giving a due date or something like that. But on the next day, latest, you have your routine where you say, I'm checking my speedies now. I'm planning my speedies. And that's where you dive in and then think about when is this coming up again? And getting back to the moment where I said for Volker, move it into the future, but then on a Monday, that's more than enough. If this is coming in 3 months, I would never plan this out on 3:00 in the afternoon on Tuesdays and place it on the planner and on my calendar there, because I never know what opportunities come up, what other things become a higher priority that I have to do on this thing. So therefore, I'm avoiding that I have to change my calendar already 3 months from now. I keep the things open, but then the moment this Monday hits, I get the item presented that I added to the Monday, and I can make my weekly planning with all the other items that filled up on this Monday. So that gives me the flexibility in this week, 3 months from now, to still plan out the things in the way that it fits my schedule. And now Oliver added something to the chat here. Todoist is working really fine for my personal life with directly adding tags for key elements and topics, tasks, status or due dates, and adding them to a few projects and having routines for the task status. Well, thanks for confirming, Oliver, that this works. We know it works for us. It works for all our members that we talk to and our inner circle members when we set the things up.
I think that this vision, of the scope of each planning, I think it's crucial. And that's what we do by using iCore. That it's during your quarterly planning, when you are planning your quarter, you need to ask yourself, what are we going to tackle this quarter? And just focus on the big picture and define 2-3 main projects, or one work stream, whatever, but just at that level. Are we able to tackle all this in this quarter? I think that that's a crucial question with a straightforward answer. And you perfectly know if you are able or not to achieve those things, because we also tend to think that we need to set projects and goals on a quarterly basis. Things that we can achieve, we know that we can achieve in just 3 months. That's something crucial, because we are going to use the same brain process, or inside our process system. That is, when you are looking at your week, you perfectly know if you can tackle those things or not. What's the things to tackle? And exactly the thing you keep zooming in, and then you go to today, and it's the exact same process. That's what we always say, that by using iCore, we are constantly using just several main processes, that you start applying the same way, so that the way you plan your quarter, your week, or today, because today you say, man, I'm going to tackle this. If it's too much, well, start delaying, man. Don't try to convince yourself of something you're not going to achieve. Be humble, and then define with clarity what you want to achieve based on facts, on your situation, your mindset, your sensations, your reality, whatever, what you're going to tackle today. And then get rid of the things, because the moment that you start achieving everything daily, everything weekly, then the quarterly achievement is just a byproduct of all that effort and that type of work. And that's what we are always encouraging the people and busy professionals to do, because if not, everything, it's so overwhelming, Our daily lives are so overwhelming that at the end, we end up with the sensation of missing out everything on a daily basis, and that's frustrating. And that's what we want to avoid by using this zoom in from quarter, from week, from today, and even do exactly the same. You can keep always doing the exact same process, between morning and afternoon. What am I going to tackle this morning? Well, just my daily highlight, that will be, and a little bit of my morning routine and the shallow thinking. That's it. Then in the afternoon, what I'm going to tackle. And that's how you can perfectly be focused on the things that you're going to execute, because the moment that you have done all these things, that it becomes second nature, you start executing that very well-defined thing that you have decided to put the energy on right now. For instance, it's your deep work moment, your deep work slot, and you are fully focused on that, forgetting completely about your weekly goals, your quarterly goals, your Speedies, whatever, is when you really perform at a peak level. And that's something that you will feel throughout the day, because at each moment of the day, you're doing exactly the right thing that you should be doing. And that's something that I consider fantastic and also life-changing, for sure.
There's no better sensation than going into the quarterly review with iCore methodology in place. The thing is, when we have the quarter review, it's not like I was suffering from this in corporate. We see this for many clients, no matter how big the company is. The moment you have a quarterly review, a yearly review, or whatever review, even a weekly, people running around and trying to get the data to get the information. What's the status of this project? Did you perform? And then you have the review, and then you realize, man, we missed out on this. We didn't achieve this. This is not happening, because everything that was planned out or any task that I'm working on every day is moving things towards the goals. Do we hit each goal in a quarter? No, because we are so flexible to be able to prioritize. Maybe something is coming in, maybe we killed a project on the way. Things like this happen, but everything is happening live, and we have a perfect opportunity to compare things to each other. If something new comes in, we know exactly what we are working on, and does it make sense to add this or remove this? And I know so many people out there, it's not the case that they know what they are working towards, or getting out of the firefighter mode where they just have the feeling, okay, man, now this person is annoying me for weeks. I have to make this now, and you stop working on another thing because you have the lack of the big picture, what is most important right now. But by knowing exactly that each task that is assigned to you, you working towards the business goals, and then going into the quarterly review, you just open the single source of truth and you know already what is there. You have a dashboard where everything is updated automatically. These things are really the sensation where you've realized that the technology is worth using. It's not actually your enemy. It's really you helping you, but it's all based on the tool agnostic approaches that we say. And iCore is just picking up the common sense, the common words that you use on a daily basis as a business professional, and giving it definition so you know exactly how to use them in your work life. Well, I hope this was helpful, Polka, for you, but for everybody out there as well. And if you want to come to us into the live recording here as well and go into the chat and start a discussion, then please join us in the Paperless Movement membership. We are there every Monday in order to tackle these questions. Have a good time, and we'll catch you up next time.
Okay. See you guys.